So this Jehovah's Witness apparently left the religion behind, and she tells her story. It's pretty crazy. Listen to this.
I put all my meeting clothes, all my modest clothes, my high-necked blouses, my long skirts, all my magazines, everything apart from the Bible, because nobody throws Bibles away.
I throw them away.
Everything.
I mean, look, they're everywhere, okay? There are way too many Bibles around. I don't need all of those Bibles, first of all. And second, some of them are like deceptively translated and stuff.
This picture on the top of me, I think we'd been on the ministry. We used to do what was called rural witnessing. You used to basically drive around going to farms. It would take a long time. You'd get to count all your hours, so you looked really holy on paper. But
yeah, totally.
We found a donkey. I think I'm about 3 in this picture. I climbed up the fence and jumped on the donkey. The donkey came to talk to us, and I jumped on the donkey. And I'm pulling my arm away from my mum, who is valiantly trying to remove me from the donkey before he runs off or does something. So that's what I'm doing in that photo there. I grew up in the Scottish borders in Scotland in the 1980s. It was a very rural upbringing, very pretty, but also very isolated. In the house, it was just me and my mum and my half-sister. My mum was from quite a middle-class family. She was a single mum with my sister, and then my dad came along. He was a South African doctor. He was very charming, and she thought that she was going to get married to him. They were engaged. She was pregnant. And then he left. And so that sort of threw her into this big disarray, this almost like crisis of identity, I think. And the witnesses called very shortly after he.
That's fascinating. Yeah, Jehovah's Witnesses often pull people in who are having crises of identity. My mom was being gaslit by my dad terribly, and to an abusive degree, and she didn't know what was real. You know, people misuse that term gaslighting a lot. It's intended to refer to somebody losing touch with reality completely as a result of them not being able to trust their own reality. And that happened to my mom. And within a very short period of time, next thing you know, Jehovah's Witnesses are knocking on her door. They used that opportunity where she was having this crisis of faith, or crisis of identity entirely. It had nothing to do with faith, really. Where she was having this crisis of identity to push their way in. And when people experience gaslighting to that degree, they search for some like grounding. They need some sense of real. And my mom decided to just accept what Jehovah's Witnesses had to say as a fact, because they were outside of her environment, and she trusted that they were not being influenced by my dad, which is a safe assumption. But she didn't, she couldn't deal with the idea that like maybe they didn't have reality down pat entirely either. So anyway, crises of identity are definitely popular grounds to prey on for Jehovah's Witnesses.
Left. Slowly over time, she converted, and when I was 2, she became a Jehovah's Witness. Jehovah's Witnesses ostensibly are a religion. They started in America in the late 1800s and then spread around the world. There's a number of beliefs, a number of core beliefs. One of those is that the end is coming, and that it's coming very, very shortly. I remember, just from as early as I can remember, being really scared of the end coming, and then thinking that that made me bad, and so that then I would definitely be deserving of destruction, because I was supposed to be happy. It was supposed to be a happy event.
It's what it does to you, man. It really gets in you, for sure.
By the way, guys, check out my new shop, owenmorgan.com/shop. I have a bunch of really cool designs on there.
Because then it meant that we would live in paradise. I was also scared because my grandparents weren't baptized and were very against the witnesses. I was really, really scared of them dying. One of the witnesses' beliefs is that the dead will be resurrected after Armageddon, even non-believers. And I used to secretly hope that my grandparents would die before the end came, so that I would be able to see them in the new system. Otherwise, I wouldn't see them again. So yeah, there was a lot I was very scared of. I became quite an anxious child, but I think that was the overriding fear of the end coming. And I was also really scared that I would die at the end. I wasn't totally scared of dying, but I was really scared that my mum would find out what I was like inside, because God would judge me and then I would be dead and she'd know.
Yeah, honestly, I've told this story before. My sister changed clothes under the table when she was very little because she was afraid that like Jehovah was watching. It gets in you deep, for real, man. It's just not mentally healthy to live life like this, like Jehovah's Witnesses expect. It just isn't.
That I had been naughty as well. I think when you're told that something is the one true religion and is right for long enough, you believe it. And I was told it constantly. I was told it all the time. The witnesses refer to their religion as the truth. And so there were no doubts when I was growing up. I really just doubted myself.
No, it's kind of annoying that they keep playing music here.
I was terrified of losing everybody. Particularly, I was absolutely terrified of losing my mum because I knew that that would happen. She's very devout. But I was also scared because it was my whole world. It was absolutely everything was contained within this organisation. And I'd done everything I was supposed to do. So I didn't have friends at work. I didn't have anyone really on the outside who could support me through. So I was really scared of that. And also because their beliefs.
You know, it's important to like listen to these because Jehovah's Witnesses, active ones, are never in a position to listen or to hear this stuff in the first place because the society so thoroughly separates them from everything else. And B, because Jehovah's Witnesses believe that they're dirty. Apostates, non-Jehovah's Witnesses, ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, they think they're dirty. And they think they're like sick and that they're failures and everything else. And it's important to see that they're not.
Could support me through. So I was really scared of that. And also because their beliefs work their way so deeply into you, it was still the fear that if I left, I would die and be destroyed. And so I was absolutely scared, like totally terrified of the world outside. Very, very scared. And the thought of having to be part of that and one of these people that I'd been told was terrible was a really difficult thought to get my head around as well. I think because I'd always thought that I was in some way special. I'd been told from being so young that I was special, that to kind of counter that and think I'm going to have to join these people who are not special and who are sinful and bad, that took quite a while to get my head around that too. So there'd been a couple of years of this slow realization and trying to run away from my doubts, basically. I tried all sorts just to squash them and get rid of them. And then I was at the Kingdom Hall one day and I was recently divorced and it had been quite a difficult time. And the circuit...
Oh boy, that is not something you do. Her husband must have cheated on her to warrant a divorce. That is the only reason for divorce. Even if they leave the religion, you're not allowed to get divorced from them. Only cheating. That's crazy. And the circuit overseer, as she mentioned, that dude is about as high up as they get on local levels. Like, circuit overseer is really influential, really important, and they're traveling ministers that go from congregation to congregation, basically. And it's like a massive honor to talk to a circuit overseer, basically, or go in service with them or anything.
And then I was at the Kingdom Hall one day and I was recently divorced and it had been quite a difficult time. And the circuit overseer got up on the platform and he looked directly at me. In front of a collected audience of maybe, I don't know, over 100 people. And he said that anyone who was divorced would never have Jehovah's pleasure. And I tried for over a year to be really good and do everything that I was supposed to do.
Wow, to say some shit like that. That doesn't surprise me, though, that he would do that. Sometimes they, like, direct their opinions at specific people, and it's pretty overt. That's really sad, man. Seriously, what the f***?
Yet here was this man who was very well respected in the community saying that I would never get God's pleasure again. And I thought, well, what am I doing here then? And so I packed my books up. I walked down these stone stairs and past people queuing outside the butcher's shop for their Sunday roast. And it was drizzling outside. I walked up the hill and right over to the other side of the city. It was about a 2-mile walk. I was quite wet from drizzle by the time I got home. I put all my meeting clothes, all my modest clothes, my high-necked blouses, my long skirts, all my magazines, everything apart from the Bible, because nobody throws Bibles away. I put everything into a black bin liner and took it out onto the street and put it in the bin. And
Wow, dude, imagine like this whole thing intentionally, like this organization sets out to take over every part of your life, every single part of it, everything. To throw your stuff away like that on the spot, that is wild. And it sounds like she still believed. I mean, I still believed for many, many years after leaving the organization. I believed for 6 more years, I think, 5 or 6 years. And it wasn't until I was kind of told about Jehovah's Witness corruption that I recognized that like every organized religion is like about as corrupt as they come. And I just kind of walked away from there. Didn't take much longer.
I remember just after I'd done that, going straight to bed, just curling up and going to sleep. And I knew I'd never go back.
This music is really frustrating to me.
I'd lost formative years. So when you're a teenager, it's about experimenting. It's about discovering who you are. But I'd been told who I was from the age of 2. So I didn't need to experiment. I wasn't allowed to experiment. Any
Absolutely. Same thing with me.
experimentation was seen as sin. So when I left, I needed to discover what I liked. I needed to learn cultural references. I grew up without a television. There was so much that I didn't know.
Yeah, I was straight up odd when I left the religion behind. I was strange. People didn't know why I would say the things that I said. It made sense to me in that moment, the things I said, but I would say things that didn't really that only made sense to Jehovah's Witnesses, for example, or when I'm trying to celebrate Christmas for the first time, I didn't know how it was supposed to be done. Another way in which I was just odd, I was strange, I was different. Like, where do the stockings come from? Who brings those? Does Santa bring those or do the parents bring them? When do you open stockings? Are you supposed to open those on Christmas morning, the night before? Who are the presents supposed to be from? Santa or the parents? I don't know. I don't know any of this stuff, That made my life so much more difficult. And just being a cultural outsider intentionally, by design, really did a number on me.
That I had to kind of fill in because culture is so important. It's like this touchstone of all our interactions. And I couldn't interact with people without that. So for quite a while after leaving, it did feel almost like undergoing your own death and watching it at a distance. And
absolutely. Damn, she is hitting the nail on the head right now. That's really on point.
And needing to remake a person after that too. It's been a difficult life to build. I feel like it has actually been something that I've built. It's not something that I just have. It can...
Yeah, people underestimate how hard it is to enter into a culture that you were never a part of in the first place. Imagine going to North Korea and interacting with people there and trying to find something in common with them. It's so completely different from anything that you could have possibly understood. I mean, North Korea has not only their status as members of a dictatorship, but they also have shared cultural Asian history that they all kind of connect with. They have a shared love of tea and certain design patterns they really like and things like that. There's so much cultural experience that you don't have access to as an ex-Jehovah's Witness, and people don't even realize how deeply it gets in you, losing everything like that. And not only, people don't even realize how deep it goes. And not only do you not have this cultural connection, this cultural experience, relevance to other people, but you don't have a cultural connection to anybody. because Jehovah's Witnesses intentionally, explicitly set out to disconnect you from people in your life. So you can't connect with others exactly, and you're not allowed to talk to or be around those that you are connected to. It's just wrong. It's just wrong.
Times feel very dislocating. It can feel very fragmented when you've had a loss like that, because it means that the life that you used to have takes on this sort of air of unreality. But the life that you're trying to work towards isn't real at that point either. So there's this period of extended limbo. And for some people, it can be a really dangerous period. A lot of people who leave die by suicide quite shortly after. It's a big problem for
Yeah, it is. It's true.
people who are trying to exit high control groups. I never wanted to write the book. I didn't want to be somebody
Oh, interesting. She wrote a book on this. Okay.
who spoke out against the organisation. I tried to write fiction, and I realised that I was constantly writing around this huge, big elephant on the page. As I thought, right, I'm going to have to do it. I sat down and I wrote a first draft very quickly with the idea that it would get it out my head and then I could go back to trying to write a novel.
Yeah, that's generally how you're supposed to write. You just get it out and then you clean it up and edit after the fact.
And it did get it out my head, but I still realised that I needed to share the truth. I had a friend who had left and he died by suicide. After he died, I thought, you know what, I've got to say this. I can't not say it. So there was
Like, I know that when she said the truth, I have to let people know the truth. She was referring to the truth about Jehovah's Witnesses, how they're crooked and everything else. But, you know, a lot of ex-Jehovah's Witnesses still refer to the religion as the truth, because that's what Jehovah's Witnesses call it, the truth. And in a lot of ex-Jehovah's Witnesses spaces, I hear people say that all the time, the truth. I left the truth. No, you didn't. You left the lie. And you left the manipulation. I always have to call people out on it, you know?
a few things that kind of all converged that resulted in me taking writing the book seriously. Thanks for watching.
Wow, that was really interesting. Damn. What book was it, I wonder? What was it? It was The Last Days, huh? The Last Days. Never heard of it. Anyway, yeah, tell me what you think about it in the comments. Absolutely fascinating.